Hey, it's Q&A day, and today's question comes from Susan. And Susan asks an important question because I think it's something that many entrepreneurs, it really doesn't matter if you're in the first or second year of your business or if you're further on down the road. I typically do see this though with those individuals that are in really the first year to year and a half of building their business. And it's actually a topic that's come up quite a few times in the last 2 to 3 weeks in many of the different groups I'm involved in. And that is, how do I avoid burnout in my business? Great topic, because many people deal with this at some point within their business, but there's a way that you can avoid that. So here's the question Susan asked specifically, and that is, hey Kim, I've had my business for 16 months now, and initially I was so excited about it, and I will say that this is really the third business idea, and I realized that this is the one that speaks the most to my heart and that I really want to run with. However, while I've gotten most of it set up and I've made a little bit of profit here and there, I feel like I'm spinning my wheels and I'm starting to hit this point of frustration and overwhelm, and I'm starting to ask myself, is this really what I want to do? And yet I feel like it is, but I'm wondering, where's the joy in all of this? How do I avoid burnout? Great question, great question. And honestly, there's really probably one of three things that are going on here, Susan. And I'm going to address each one of those, but in separate segments, because I like to keep these videos a little bit shorter because I just think they're a little bit easier to digest. So first, what often happens, and you kind of alluded to it here, what often happens is when we start out into an entrepreneurial position, right? We decide, okay, I'm gonna leave maybe a corporate position, or maybe you're starting your business. Maybe you have been working from home or in the home, and it's now something that's been speaking to you and you think, okay, I really want to start this venture, right? So what happens? We start down the road of, how do we do this? How do we set up the business? What do I need to know? What are all the legalities around it? What are all the specifics of growing a business, or how do I get into profit, right? All those kind of nuts and bolts. But what's happening is we're working on the structure of the business and setting up the business, right? So we kind of have a plan. And so when we step into becoming an entrepreneur or a business owner, we really want to step into that CEO role. Well, in order to do that, you kind of have to leave the employee mindset behind. Now, that's not to say that you don't have to go through all of these things to learn how to get your business set up. Yes, you do, because you want to understand the structure of your business so that when it's time to bring on people to help you, you have a structure or a system in place that you can hand them. That's where most people fall short. They don't have a system in place. So it's like you, in a sense, give yourself a promotion. Hey, I'm a business owner now, or I'm a CEO now, right? But you're acting like an employee because you're still doing the tasks, those mundane tasks, and you're not really getting paid for them, right? You're doing the things that have to get done in your business, and that's all fine and dandy, but at the end of the day, you sit back and you go, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? I'm doing so much more work now than I did as an employee, and I still haven't gotten into profit yet. That's so common, especially when you're first starting out. So there's a couple of ways in which you can avoid this. Number one, first, I want you to go back to the overall vision for your business. Why did you start this business? What was it about this business that excited you? Take a look at that. And you might have to just take off for a couple of days and really connect back to that vision. That's going to be so important, because the time that you step away is the time that's going to be so well spent that it's going to help catapult you forward. So you want to make sure that you can connect to your overall vision for your business. So you might have a 1-year plan for that business. Well, where do you want to take it from there? What's your 3-year? What's your 5-year? How does that look for you? And not just your business, but how does that mesh with your life? What does that allow you to do in your life? And I'm not talking just monetarily. I'm talking about, what does your day-to-day look like? Do you get up, make coffee, sit down, send some emails, or maybe, if you have a product-based business, go through a new line? What are you doing, and how are you approaching your day? What does it look like for you? Are you working 4 hours a day? Are you taking every Friday off? Are you taking half a Friday off? Do you take a week off at the end of every month? Those things are going to be important. So you want to start taking a look at that as far as the life portion of it, right? How it affects your life. But then you really want to take a look at the business. What is it that you're doing? Why is it exciting to you? And where is that joy that you originally had? And is it still there? Is there something there that you can connect to? Because if there is something there that you still feel that spark with, then it just means that you're doing too much of the busy work and you're just too bogged down in the mundane. So how do we get past that? Well, we have to get outside of that employee mindset. So the second thing that we want to do is we want to take a look at the things that you can either, one, delegate, or two, automate, right? So it could be that maybe you've got a course that you're developing. Can you set up that course so it's automated so you don't have to do everything live? So you're not doing workshops maybe 3 times a week. That could be a great source of burnout because how much time do you really have? Are you fielding the same questions over and over again? If you're a coach and you're doing coaching calls, can you create a group environment as well? Can you record some of that information and package it? Because if it's a set of common questions, then chances are more and more people have those, right? So take a look from a kind of like, you want to take this overview look, step back, take an overview look of your business and say, gosh, is there something here that I might be able to switch and automate? Now, the other part of this too, though, is delegating it. What can you get off your plate? What can you give to somebody else? And I know a lot of people will stand back and say, wait a minute, I'm just starting. I don't have the funds to delegate this. I can't hire anybody. I can't even bring on an assistant to help me. I just need to get this done myself. And so what happens? Head down mode, push through it. And a lot of new entrepreneurs, they just roll their sleeves up and think, I'm just going to get it done. I'm going to get it done. They burn the candle at both ends, and they lose out the time with, the things that are important to them, right? Family, relationships, their own self. And so you want to make sure that you step away from that. And I guarantee you will be able to find the money. There are many different resources for virtual assistants out there and many virtual assistants that know exactly what to do. You can give them a little bit of information and they've done this so many times that they most of the time know more about what you need than you probably even need. And there's a wide range also of pricing within that. So do a little research on that. You can find it online. I would go into many of my social media groups and I would post questions asking, does anybody have a great virtual assistant? Here's my budget, and see what you get back. But chances are you're going to be able to find somebody that can help you. But it's a great way to start taking things off your plate and opening yourself up to the things that you're good at. Let's face it, there are plenty of things that you might be able to do, but your time is best spent elsewhere in your business. And if you're going to grow a business, then you're going to have to put your time into an area of expertise. That might be building those relationships. Think about how a CEO runs a business. You have to step into that way of being, and it is absolutely a way of being. Nothing externally changes until we change internally. So you have to step into that way of being mentally first. And once you start to do that, then you start putting the resources in place that can help you. Is it important to have a systems and a structure in place? Absolutely. That comes from creating a plan. And so that's our third step. The third step is to take a look at that overall vision we talked about, and then you want to break that down. Where do you want to be in your business in 1 year from now? What does it look like? Where do you want to take that business? Then you're going to break that down into quarterly goals. I work in 90-day increments. From that 90-day period, you're going to break that down into monthly and then weekly and then daily action steps. Those daily action steps are going to be important because those are the things that are going to move your business forward. And you don't want to do anything in those daily action steps that aren't growing your business. So anything that's going to help move your business forward, and if it's not, it drops off your list. You don't do it. So if you can delegate it to somebody else, if you can start to automate it, those are going to be the keys as well. So you have to think in those terms. So remember, it's 3 things. Connect first to your overall vision for your business. What was it that gave you that joy initially? We all start out with that excitement because, let's face it, when you leave a position somewhere else, you kind of, they give you a blueprint. These are the things that you need to do. And here's when you need to do them or how it needs to be done, right? Even if you're in sales, it's like you have a quota to meet, correct? And then it's, okay, what do I need to do in order to meet that quota? How many prospects do I need to, prospecting calls do I need to make? Right? So you kind of have a game plan that's already set up for you. When you become an entrepreneur and you don't have any game plan, you start floundering and you don't have any structure in your business. So the reason why it's easy for people to be excited and stick with it for the first year or so is because that's when they're building everything. They're setting it up. They've got a course or something that they have to follow in order to get things set up and get some kind of structure going, or they're going for a certification, right? But once that starts to end and taper off, if they don't have a structure or a system in place to follow and they don't know how to take their business into the next level and start getting into that profit, that's when we start to flounder. And that's when it's like, oh my gosh, I start looking over my shoulder. I look at what everybody else is doing. I get into maybe compare and despair mode. And that's when it starts to really unravel, because that's what most, I would say, inexperienced entrepreneurs start to do. They start hitting panic button. I'm in the wrong business, or maybe let me see what everybody else is doing. How come I'm not there? Or they abandon ship. And Susan, you said this earlier, that this is your third, I think you said it was your third venture, and that this one though is the one that really speaks to your heart. Why is that? Why is that? Did you, find something in here that really was connected to your why? And if that's the case, then don't be so quick to abandon ship again. And this is what a lot of entrepreneurs do. They start going, oh, it's overwhelming. I don't know what I'm doing. There's just too much here. And so instead of staying in the task at hand or delegating and getting the proper support that they need and getting a system and a structure in place that in a plan that they can follow, instead they start looking around at other opportunities, thinking that those are going to be easier. But at the end of the day, they all take effort. You still have to put the work in. The difference, though, is that it doesn't feel heavy. Your business shouldn't feel heavy. Your business it's not going to be effortless, but it should be light, because when you're aligned with it and when you have the proper resources in place to support you, when you have a system or a structure in place that you are following on a regular basis, this is why we chunk those goals down into 90-day increments, into weekly, into daily plans of action. When you have a system to follow, then your business becomes lighter. It becomes fun. You know what to do and when to do it. And that's when you start to move the needle forward in your business, okay? So that is just one area that can really help entrepreneurs with that burnout. But I think there's also two things that can also cause that overwhelm or the frustration, or just feeling like, man, I am ready to throw in the towel here. I'm going to address those in separate segments, so stay tuned for those. Thanks so much, Susan, for writing in and submitting that question. It's a great topic. And if you have a question for me, you can send it to support@kimkellythompson.com, or you simply can send it to kimkellythompson.com, and in the subject line, just put Q&A day, and we'll link that down below as well. Thanks so much, and I'll be back in the next segment with part 2 of how to avoid burnout.